All right, thanks everyone for coming. You guys are, I can see some of the same faces, so you should get like little awards for doing, the 4-week thing, like perfect attendance awards or something like that. All right, Randall, you are here.
I am here.
And I know I haven't told you this, but I think your background picture is by hands down the best picture for any Zoom that I've ever been in.
I will relay that to my wife, who is an artist and who did that beautiful painting, and I love it too.
It's and you have blue eyes, I think, and you always wear blue, and it's just like perfect. So I just had to share that. In fact,
thank you.
It inspired me. I'm thinking I need to have something better than a map behind me, So anyway, all right, everyone, good evening. Thanks for being here, for your perfect attendance if you have made it through 4 weeks with Randall and his fabulous curriculum. Randall lives in Bozeman, Montana. I gotta get out your bio. And he's an early reading specialist and author from Bozeman, taught in the multi-aged early childhood classrooms for 16 years, and is the author of the Klein method of early reading mastery. So he is the guy to talk to get kids to little ones to read. So without further ado, Randall.
Thank you very much, Donna. I want to express my appreciation again and my gratitude to you for giving me this platform to reach more teachers than I'm normally able to reach. And it's been a great experience for me. And I've been getting some really wonderful comments from people who are emailing me and contacting me. And it's opened other doors and opportunities for me to serve children in communities elsewhere around the world. So thank you again.
That is our mission.
That's
right. Makes me so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Okay. Today's topic is advanced decoding and high frequency. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by going very quickly through a review of things that I've covered in the previous presentations, because I think it gives context. I'm going to talk about today where I've been going, how I've been leading teachers to some new concepts and awareness of some things that maybe they're not aware of. So I'm going to begin now. I am an early reading specialist. I specialize in teaching children ages 3 to 7. But what I've found through the years, and what I have found even in these last 3 presentations that I've given for Donna's Facebook group, and for those who are listening to the replay, what I have found through the years is that my perceptions and awareness and experience and materials and methods that are perfect for 3 to 7-year-olds who are just beginning to learn about the alphabet, to learn about decoding, to learn about reading, is really also perfect for children who have dropped stitches, who are struggling in 1st and 2nd and even 3rd grade. So what I'm going to present to you today is what I've presented in the last 3 weeks, is how I teach young children to read. And I think that you'll discover, no matter what age child you're teaching, no matter what grade you're teaching, that you'll recognize certain things, certain ideas, certain games, certain activities that are going to meet the needs of children that you're working with now, because some of those children have dropped stitches. They're struggling to keep up. They're trying to decode. And what I have found when I go into schools and work with children while the teachers watch me, is that children in the end of kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade who are struggling, they actually don't know their alphabet very well. And yet they're being asked to decode not only words, but connected text, decodable readers, all sorts of things. And they're struggling, and it's not good for their self-esteem. And I think teachers have found that my materials and my methods and the sort of the perceptions that I have about beginning reading really help them in some cases with some children. So let's begin. Normally, I'm teaching a lot of early reading teachers and parents, coaching parents, and I usually title my presentations Beginning to Read as Child's Play. But then I've found through the years that most of my work is done with elementary teachers, reading specialists, reading coaches, first grade teachers, second grade teachers, Title I teachers. And for them, what I do becomes intervention games and activities. What I'm going to present to you can be found in my book, The Klein Method of Early Reading Mastery, which is a method of presenting early reading materials for children, creating prepared environments for early reading, early childhood classrooms. But again, it fits quite nicely with teachers who are working with beginning and struggling readers in the lower grades as well. I'm going to put in the chat box. I'm going to do it again right now. And I already put it in the chat box, actually. It's a resource page that I have developed so you can sort of find all resources. And one of them is a chapter from one of my books, How a Child Teaches Themselves the Alphabet, How a Child Teaches Himself to Decode. So I'm helping young children teach themselves how to decode. But some of you are working with children who are already understand decoding, but aren't doing a great job and they're struggling. So to recap, and again, I'm going to go through this quite quickly. We understand that phonemic awareness is the most important thing we've ever learned about reading, and therefore it has informed us and informed how we present our instruction. It has to go from speech to print. Our instruction has to move from sound to symbol, from concrete to abstract. I say concrete, it's because sound is concrete. And when a child says or thinks a sound or speaks a sound, his body is vibrating. So it is concrete. And of course, from the known to the unknown, which is a wonderful principle when you're working with young early childhood children. I talked very briefly about rhyming because although it doesn't directly relate to reading, it is important to stimulate and wake up that part of the brain that deals with phonological awareness. So I talked about teaching children to rhyme by teaching them specific rhymes. If I flash cards, mouse, house, cat, hat, boot, fruit, frog, dog, whatever it might be, it's very easy to teach young children specific rhymes, and now they have something to do with those rhymes. Even children who are in first grade who are looking for something to do with their hands, who want to feel like they're part of what's happening in the classroom. The gold star at the top of some of these slides indicate that these are games that you can download for free from my website, and that's on my resource page, and I've also put it into the chat box. I talked a lot about beginning sound isolation. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, I'm doing a really quick recap of what I've talked about and emphasized in previous presentations. Beginning sound isolation and phoneme segmentation, those are the two very, very and most important phonemic awareness skills that we need to give young children. We want children to look at house and say, ha. Look at the zebra and say, z. Hold the banana and say, buh. Touch the table and say, buh. Excuse me. Touch the table and say, t. Why? Because we need to teach them the alphabetic principle. If a child can look at bear and say, buh, then that child can look at that symbol and understand what it means. So I'm in the business of teaching the alphabetic principle. To appreciate the alphabetic significance of letters, children must gain conscious access to phonemes. And again, I work with young children. I have to play games with them so that I can stimulate their brain to a point where they also can isolate and identify beginning sounds. So I do it by playing little bingo games. Who has monkey? Who has balloon? And when they have that picture on the card, they put the game piece on there and they repeat balloon, monkey. Once they can isolate beginning sounds, that's where the fun begins in the early childhood classroom. Then the child can work independently. They can put the game piece on the first picture, and they can find all the other pictures. Oops, sorry about that. I just lost my slide. There we go. I teach the child to put a game piece in the box, and that tells us what to do. The ball is basically saying what other pictures start with B. I teach the alphabetic principle before I teach the alphabet. Why? Because the beginning of isolation opens the door to the alphabet. That is the open door to the alphabet. And you have some children in first and second grade who know the alphabet, but they don't understand it at a deeper level. So if I have little Veronica who can look at goat and say G, then I can show her that the goat is telling us that that letter says G. The house is telling us that letter says, Veronica, what's the letter next to the sun? So I can lead her into an understanding at a subconscious and a conscious level of how to read these letters on that card. Now, if I turn the card over and it just has an H there, she may or may not know what it is. And the same is true for some of your first and second grade children. When you turn that card over and all they see is the H or the S or the A, sometimes we're not sure if they're going to tell us what it is. So I teach the alphabetic principle, and then I give children activities where they can put sound and symbol together. The picture of hammer is basically saying to Veronica, where is the? The monkey was asking Veronica, where is the? This is multiple choice letter recognition. It's not letter reading. These are the kinds of activities that are perfect for first and second grade children who need to really shore up their alphabet knowledge. And by alphabet, I always mean sounds. I always mean sounds. If I flip the card over at the top, the picture is not there anymore. The picture clue, the key picture is not there, but it doesn't matter. The goose is saying, where's the G? And Veronica says, oh, there's the G. There's my old friend, the G. I've seen that G 5 or 10 or 20 times now. It's not even hard. The hat is saying, where's the? This gives children things to do with their hands. It gives them practice and repetition with the alphabet. Now, when I teach the alphabet to young children, I teach it in clusters, and I move through the first cluster, the second cluster, the third cluster. But you're going to have children at the end of kindergarten and first and second grade, and some third graders. They already are very familiar with the alphabet. They're just not great at it yet. So you don't necessarily have to divide up the materials into clusters. I believe that reading instruction is primarily supervised practice. I'm not teaching children anything except how to play a game. The game itself is going to lead the child to the mastery that they need of letter sound recognition. We have to understand that it takes a lot of exposures for a letter to become fully automatic in memory. So let's give them lots of different games and activities to do that. I'm going to put my name on this slide someday because that is my quote. And I'm proud of it because I think it really speaks to what led me deeper and deeper into the reading process is that children need healing, especially those children who are struggling and who are already behind. I mean, think about it. There are kids at the end of kindergarten. They are already behind and they know it. Let's help to heal them. So again, I divide for the young children, I divide the alphabet into clusters, and each of the games that I showed you, I just divide them up so that the child is only working with a particular set of alphabet sounds at a time. But by the time they get to the second or the third cluster, those games are very, very familiar with them. They're teaching themselves how to teach themselves. They're teaching themselves how to teach themselves. I absolutely believe that children teach themselves how to read, of course, with our help, our supervision, and our attention to detail and providing an environment for them. Now, phoneme segmentation is the other of the two essential skills that young children need. Phoneme segmentation is the most important reading readiness skill of everything. I cannot emphasize that enough. Children need to be able to look at boot and say b, oo, t. They need to look at goose and say g, oo, s. So I spent time, actually I went over it all 3 times in the last sessions, how I teach children to do that. And I teach segmentation by modeling it for them with the blending game. Veronica, guess what I've got that I'm hiding from you? B, oo, t. Right, boot. Charles. Listen carefully. Ch, ch. Right. Church. Okay, Victoria. G, ooh. S. Right. Goose. Okay. Mary. Goat. Goat. Now, I hope you noticed that each time I did that game with a different child, I changed the game, basically. I either kept the sounds very close together or I spread them further apart, further apart, further apart. I do not hold on to the sounds. Segmentation is segmenting 3 separate sounds. I don't do onset rhyme. I never do onset rhyme. If I'm going to spend time with a child or 5 children or 10 children, I'm going to model phoneme segmentation for them, not onset rhyme. I understand there's reasons for that. I know there's research. I'm just telling you what I do. Here's another game I play, beginning sound bingo, of course, with other. So one of the things I didn't mention is sometimes I'll have the child hide the card from me. Give me 3 sounds. If I say, okay, Veronica, if she's playing this bingo game and I say, sh, well, as soon as I say, she knows which picture I'm looking at, right? So I'm going to say, Veronica, close your eyes. Act. When she says hat, then she can open her eyes and put the game piece on there. Now, Veronica can also be the teacher with other children. They can play with each other. A lot of first grade children who are struggling, they cannot segment, or they don't do it very well. Now, this blending game that I just showed you allows the child to blend, because when they decode, they're going to have to blend those sounds. But what we don't want is when they sound out cat, k, a, t, to come up with top. Well, they listen to the last sound t, and they just guessed at top. We want them to come up with the word cat. Now, having said that, I don't really think that's a blending problem so much. It's a letter recognition problem. It took the child 12 seconds to get from k to the t. By the time he got there, he came up with the wrong word. So we have a combination of teaching children to blend in an isolated way, isolation of difficulty. We've also really worked hard making sure that their letter recognition is strong. So the blending game teaches children how to segment. And so I want children to become super duper fantastically good at phoneme segmentation. This, I wonder what this looks like to you, first grade teachers. To me, this is a segmentation activity. The child segments fox, they may not even get to the third sound. As soon as they get to the second sound, now they know what they're looking for. So this is a letter recognition activity also. But think about it. It's multiple choice, number 1. Number 2, when the child's looking for the that child is putting a perfect value, a perfect sound on that symbol, but he's not really reading it. He's recognizing it. What's the last sound of dog? D, g. There's the g. So it combines phoneme segmentation and letter recognition. These games that I just showed you, these last 3, well, excuse me, this one and this one are perfect for those children in 1st and 2nd grade who are still actually not great, not only in phoneme segmentation, but in letter recognition. Here's another phoneme segmentation middle sound game. They have to segment in order to get to the right sound. This to me is a segmentation activity. I don't teach children blends. I think it's wrong personally to teach blends. I teach children how to blend, and I teach children how to separate blended sounds. And the way they do that is with phoneme segmentation. Now, the other way that I use phoneme segmentation is this. Just like beginning sound isolation is the open door to the alphabet, just like beginning sound isolation is the open door to the alphabet, phoneme segmentation is the open door to words and decoding. Veronica, what are the sounds of bus? B, s. Let's put our finger on those letters and say those sounds. B, s. Bus, right. Now you do sun. Take the sounds of sun and put them on those letters. S, n, sun. This is how I introduce 4 or 5-year-old child to decoding using his phoneme segmentation. or her phoneme segmentation. But for some of you who are working with struggling and beginning readers in the end of kindergarten, first and second grade, this allows them to understand decoding in a different way. Now, phoneme segmentation allows me to introduce Veronica, who's only 4.5 or 5, or Thomas, who's 6.5 and 7, but is struggling, to an activity that's going to really strengthen their understanding of the alphabetic principle at the word level. Pig, p, I. Let's build that word. P, I. Good. This combines phoneme segmentation and letter recognition, but remember, it's multiple choice letter recognition. The child is actually not reading those letters, but boy, is it reinforcing to him or to her the sounds of those symbols. This is really important work for you to have in your classroom. So here's a little 4-year-old. She's learning how to decode, even though this is not a decoding activity. I hear Adams said, spelling is reading instruction at the word level. Well, for me, spelling in this case is word building. It's the same principle. You're encoding words. You're encoding words. That is reading instruction. So this little guy, this is one of the 7-year-olds from a school in Pennsylvania who was really, really behind. And he just was very frustrated and felt very left out. So these kinds of activities allowed him to really be productive and with the alphabetic principle and to build words and to start to decode words with more confidence. So this child was already decoding. But again, when you have children who are really struggling, when you really observe them, they're sort of guessing or they're memorizing and they're remembering. They're not really putting sound and symbol together. And that's what this is all about. So when I introduce these cards to Veronica or any child, I show them how to take the sounds from the picture and put them on the symbols. And of course, when they turn the card over, they can practice decoding without pictures, just really good practice. Again, so these are all activities that I give young children who are learning how to decode, as well as 6 and 7, 8-year-old children who are really struggling and need to shore up their decoding skills. I'm moving quickly because I need to get to some other stuff, but I love these basic so much that I get carried away a little bit. So here's that 7-year-old who was really struggling, and now he's got quite a few different activities he can do at the 3-letter level and at the 4-letter level. So you stop to think about what decoding is when there's no picture. You're going from symbol to sound, from letter, from print to speech. So it goes the other way, and it's much harder. Okay, let's keep going. I better go through this quickly. As a child is able to segment 3 sounds, I start working with 4 sounds, s, w, I, m. Or I say to a child, okay, hide the picture from me, Veronica, and give me 4 sounds, and I have to guess what it is. So I'm going to start working with 4 sounds, just like I worked with 3 sounds. And I start moving through a sequence of activities that they're already very familiar with, but now they're working with 4 sounds. Just recently, I've worked with 2 different 7-year-olds who could decode 3- and 4-letter words, but they couldn't recognize them. They need enough practice and repetition so that they get to a 4-letter word or a 3-letter word, they just call it out. And that takes practice and repetition. Okay. This particular quote from Marilyn J. Adams also was very inspiring to me and really has led me to some deeper understandings of what things that I need to do with children. Reading problems primarily occur at the word level. I mean, that's just the truth. It's just the truth. So when you have a 2nd grader or a 3rd grader who's really not reading that well, you have a tendency to just ask them to read. when the instruction, the remediation, the intervention should be at the word level, in my opinion. Okay. I do the same thing with 5 and 6 letters, just because it's fun and it's almost like a challenge. But you stop to think about a second grader who's really grappling with 5 and 6 letters and 5 and 6 sounds. It's like a workout. It's like a gymnasium. It's like you're going to the gym and working out his core muscles. Not that I know anything about going to a gym and working on core muscles. So I want children to really be good at reading 3 and 4 letter words and decoding them and actually getting to a point where they're starting to call out words so that I can introduce them to a few high frequency words so that they can start working with phrases and sentences and little activities like this so that I can prepare them. This is a great game, by the way. I think this is one of the free games. I didn't put a gold star on there, but be sure to look for it on my resource page. Actually, I'm going to go right into the chat room again and put a couple of things in real quickly. Okay. All right. Because we know that decodable readers are really, really important for children, but even at these very simple decodable readers, they have to be pretty good at reading 3 and 4 letter words or it can be sort of frustrating to them. We want them to start reading connected text. Okay. So for the early childhood classroom, working with silent E is sort of the equivalent of advanced decoding, even though for some of you 2nd and 3rd grade teachers, obviously that's not very advanced, but we do need to start presenting young children with the opportunity to learn new orthographic features of our written language and of our written language. So this is really not hard for children once they understand how our alphabetic system works, and once they have strong phonemic awareness, and once they have really, really, really strong letter sound recognition, these activities are actually quite easy for them. So I might say to Veronica, hide the picture for me. Don't let me see it. Now I want you to read the word to me. So she's taking the segmentation of skate and putting it on those symbols. Now, of course, I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about the silent E, but I don't need to spend a lot of time having a big, long lesson about silent E. I just want Veronica to start working with it. She's really smart. She's been decoding. She has great phonemic awareness. And her letter recognition is very strong. So this stuff is like easy peasy, but you stop to think about the 1st and 2nd grade child who's really struggling at the beginning levels. This is really important practice that they need that they don't get sometimes. It's really hard for that classroom teacher, even the resource teacher who's pulling children out, to give children enough practice. That's why I'm a big advocate of hands-on materials that the children can take from the shelf and start to work with. I don't need to have a big, long lesson about different phonograms. Obviously, we need to teach children phonics and have a strong phonics program, but it's also just easy to give them activities where they just do it on their own. I mean, come on, how hard could that possibly be for a Veronica? If you've been following me with Veronica for the last 3 weeks, she was 3 and then she was 4 and now she's 5. This is easy stuff. She's not going to be confused. Does that mean she knows OA whenever she sees it? No, but she's not going to be bewildered when she sees or encounters new orthographic features. This is another 7.5, 8-year-old boy who was really struggling. And he's now being given some activities in this classroom in Pennsylvania to really solidify his understanding of what this English language is all about. Okay, hide the picture from me, Veronica. Read the picture to me. Oops, somebody's talking. Somebody's making phoneme sounds out there. Hide the picture for me and read the word. So again, she hasn't been taught the SH necessarily. She hasn't been taught the AI necessarily. I'll just mute that real quick. Okay, here we go. Now I've muted everybody. All right. So now this is so easy because the only letter there, the only label there that starts with a G is that one. But I can also turn those pictures over after she's put the labels underneath and say, try it again, see if you can guess what's what's hidden. So we can do all sorts of different things to give Veronica and her friends opportunities to practice. Okay, let's talk about high frequency words. Whew. It's like another alphabet they have to learn, isn't it? I mean, these 100 words are like hugely important. And one of the things that I want to, and by the way, I got to be honest with you. I teach young children, and when I'm talking to teachers and parents of children who are a little bit older, I feel my role is to sort of guide them and direct them and sort of give them hints about where they can go. But I'm not doing it so much. I have tutored in the past, and if I open my reading center in Bozeman after I retire, if I ever do that, I'll obviously need to be working with third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, et cetera. And so some of these things I'm going to talk about are things I'm going to dive into more deeply on my own. I think one of the big things I want to say is that when I'm introducing a new word, I want them to segment that word. This is the word, it's a good one. Look, here's the word look. What are the sounds of look? I think my basic principle that I use is that we're always segmenting words, even if they're goofy, high frequency, irregular words. We're going to segment it and then look at it and then spell it and then read it. So if a child asks me, Mr. Klein, what does this word say? Or how do you spell street? I'm going to ask him to segment it for me. What are the sounds of street? St, eat. You hear that E sound? That's with a double E. However, we're going to work with words that the child hasn't learned yet. It's always good to start with the segmentation of that word. Now, this particular set of material, again, I don't have a gold star on there, but I think it's available on my download page. If it's not, if there's any game that you see on my website, or if you see that I am demonstrating or talking about, you can email me and just ask for the digital file. I haven't completely put all of my digital files available yet because it's a long process, but I'm happy to do that. So this particular set of cards are all nouns. And in fact, the high frequency nouns aren't generally found in the Dolch lists or the Fry lists. So this gives a child a chance to start working with all sorts of phonograms and orthographic features that they've never been taught yet, but they can start to figure stuff out because there's a picture there. That's the key there. So the phoneme segmentation allows the child to take those sounds from table and put them on that word. Of course, this has a silent E. The ball has a double L. There's all sorts of things that are going to come up, but they can start to teach themselves how to teach themselves new things. Now, I believe that the most effective reading instruction is spelling. And spelling lists should be based, in my opinion, on high frequency words, not on phonics words like street, beat, meet, train, brain, grain. That's just my opinion. But when I taught first grade for a few years, my spelling program was the high frequency words. And boy, did those children learn how to spell those words. And if you can spell a word, you can read it. So I believe that the most effective spelling program is based on the most frequent words in the English language. So that's the long and short of it. Some of you might be interested in sending me an email and asking me for this particular workbook, which I created for the children in Africa that I worked with when I went over there. And so this book just has high frequency words, and each of the word is broken up into its separate phonemes. And so when I'm introducing a word, let me go to a next page. Let's see. Oh, something simple like he. I say the next word is he. He gave me a new book to read. He. What are the sounds of he, Veronica? She says E. And we take our pencil tip and we put it into the boxes and go E, he. So it's my introduction to that word before we start writing the word. So when Veronica writes the word he, or the word and, or the word to, or any of those words, I'm going to ask her to say the sounds as she writes them. And of course, we know with high frequency words, it's a lot of them are very phonetic, and there are a lot of them that are really goofy. You know, if you want to call them goofy or terribly irregular, it doesn't match the phonemes. Nevertheless, by saying the sounds and mapping them to the print as they print them, it engages the child's brain in a different way than just saying the letter names. So that little sort of program that I created for the classrooms in Africa was just a way that I was going to be able to talk to the teachers about working with spelling and with high frequency words. And in the book, the first 10 words on that page, then there's a list of them in different order, so the child can practice them, and they're put into sentences as well. Now, the next topic is orthographic mapping, which I am not an expert in. I'm going to put into the chat box right now a link to one of the best videos that I have ever seen about orthographic mapping. And if you don't know what orthographic mapping is, you have got to find out. You've got to dive in. You've got to start watching videos. And I know that Donna on her website, I don't think I have a little link for that. Her Facebook is called.
What you need?
The name of your Facebook page.
Oh, Science of Reading What I Should Have Learned in College.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's your YouTube. I think your YouTube channel has some different things on orthographic mapping.
We probably do.
Okay.
Which one I can look it up for you. Which one do you like?
Well, I actually haven't watched yours so much as the one that I just put into the chat box is from David Kilpatrick.
Okay.
Which is 14 minutes. It's absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend it. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview because I'm not an expert, but this is the kind of thing where I'm nudging elementary school teachers to look into and to learn about orthographic mapping.
I'm not seeing it in the chat.
Oh, really? Okay. I sent it to the wrong person. Hold on.
Yeah,
Here
put
we
it
go.
yep, to everybody.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for telling me because I don't pay attention, unfortunately. Okay, so very briefly, orthographic mapping is the subconscious process we use to take a new word and turn it into an easily recognizable sight word. David Kilpatrick is the king. Go on YouTube, watch anything he's got on there, especially that video that I showed you on the chat. It's extremely important that you understand about orthographic mapping. Orthographic mapping is now considered the most current theory of how children form sight word representations. It's the mental process we use to permanently store words for immediate, effortless retrieval. Orthographic mapping is the process of remembering written words. This process of remembering written words is automatic, unconscious, and occurs behind the scenes while reading. Orthographic mapping leads to the development of sight words. It is the process that all successful readers use to become fluent readers. Sight words are automatic words that pop. They're impossible to suppress. They are read automatically without effort. You can't not read them. That's the thing about sight words. When a word becomes a sight word, you can't not read it. And orthographic mapping is the process that the mind and the brain uses to make those sight words. And of course, that's the key to building fluency. So I'm just pointing you in that direction. Start studying orthographic mapping. Figure out where you can find stuff from David Kilpatrick. Let's go to my next topic here. Okay. One of the things we know, I'm going to find my slide here. Okay, I think I misplaced a slide. One of the things about orthographic mapping is that it requires more advanced phonemic awareness. I have really been emphasizing phoneme segmentation because that's all I need for children who are 3 to 7 to really get them to decode, to become really good at decoding, to start really figuring out the alphabetic principle at the word level. But as David Kilpatrick will say in his video, is once they're beyond that beginning decoding level, they need to do more. They need to have more advanced phonemic awareness. And so this book is really where I started to learn about these more advanced phonemic awareness things. And that involves things like deletion, say snow without the n, phoneme substitution, now say snow, but change the n to ul. These are more difficult. These are manipulations of phonemes or deletions. It's much harder. And so you start easily and you move into more advanced stuff. Again, I have not, oh, I didn't show you my screen. I have not done this with children, but I know that I'm going to need to when I start working with 2nd and 3rd and 4th graders. And so I'm just basically pointing you to this more advanced phonemic awareness that we're going to start needing to do. Phoneme reversal, say chip. Now say the sounds in chip in reverse. Pitch, p, itch, pitch. Okay, so say brush, but don't say the b. Say great, but don't say the g. That's going to give you the word rate, isn't it? Say trim, but don't say the sound t. Okay. Say the word block, but don't say b. Right, lock. Say the word stop, but don't say the sound s. Right, top. Say the word ski, but don't say s. Right, key. Now this is substitution. Say the word add, but change the last sound to n. Right, an. Say the word as, change the last sound to n. Right, an. Say the word pen and change the last sound to t. Right, pet. Say the word dime. Change the last sound to d. Right, dive. So I'm starting to experiment with how I might want to do it with some of the younger children who are decoding quite well. I want to advance their phonemic awareness, and that involves deletion, substitution. Okay, say the word back. Now say the sounds backwards. Excuse me, say it backwards. Say the sound back. Now say the sounds backwards. K, a, b, cab. Say the word tack. Now say the sounds backward. K, at, cat. Say the word top. Now say the sounds backwards. P, ot. Right, pot. Say the word safe. Say the sounds backwards. You can see how this is pretty challenging. I'm having a hard time myself because I haven't practiced this. But these are the more advanced phonemic awareness activities that you need to be doing if you're not already doing it. Those of you who are with 1st and 2nd and 3rd graders. And I know a lot of programs. I helped to write the curriculum for an early reading kindergarten program and a preschool program for the really great reading company. They came to me for, to consult with them because of my work with young children. And of course, they're sort of required by the Common Core and other things to have to put in all sorts of reversals and substitutions, even with kindergarten kids. And that's fine, but I just feel like phoneme segmentation is so important for those kindergarten kids to be really, really good at. So I was never a big fan of that. Okay, say net. Change the last sound to n. Right. 10. Okay, this is a slide I was looking for before. Once a child is decoding, reading decodable text is really strong and solid with those, short vowels. We really have to be working to start to prepare them for more advanced orthographic mapping. So that involves advanced phonemic awareness, continuing to give them explicit systematic phonics, and more reading practice with connected text. So that's the long and short of it. I hope some of my suggestions were helpful to you. I do want to recommend these sources. Oh, there's the website. That's the Donna's Facebook page. Science of Reading, What I Should Have Learned in College. And also the Reading League, which has fantastic resources and videos. So both of those are really good. Now, let me really quickly go to another fun topic I have, a multiple syllable word study. We want children to start seeing syllables as they read. Chunks, in other words, chunks of letters, chunks of print. If students will begin to recognize common syllable chunks before they know what the word is. Okay, let me just skip to the good part. We're going to talk about closed syllables, multi-syllables, words that have closed syllables. When the vowel of a syllable is short, the syllable will be closed off by one or more consonants. Okay, so I've created some worksheets that you can get. Let's see, I'm going to put it into the chat real quickly. I think maybe I'm sending it to the wrong people. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. Oh, I'm just typing away here. Nope, it's not coming up. Sorry. I think it's on my resource page. So in this particular game, a child chooses a slip from a box or he works from a whole sheet. The child may or may not know what this word is. It doesn't matter. He's still going to work with it. It's sort of like a word study. So if you know the word, don't say it. Let's underline the vowels. Of course, I'm going to take a turn first. Then I'm going to write the vowels into the syllable frames. Then I'm going to start to bring down the consonants so we can start to figure out how they can be placed to create a recognizable word. And once the child has figured out what the word is, he can turn the word on the back and just simply read the word. So again, this is just some suggestions. There are a lot of fantastic videos about multi-syllable, teaching children multi-syllable decoding, which is a core problem in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade. These are the materials that I created for my own children that I work with. And those little slips you can download from my website. There's a video that I created about multi-syllable word study, which I think could be of help to you. So that's just one of the syllable types. I know that a lot of early childhood educators and a lot of 1st and 2nd grade teachers, kindergarten teachers, actually don't know much about syllable types. But tackling and helping children tackle multi-syllable words is really part of what we have to do. I'm almost finished, and then we can take questions. Okay. If you know the word, don't say it. Let's underline the vowels. Let's bring them down onto the syllable frames. Now you can do this at the chalkboard with the whole group. And again, you're going to see wonderful, wonderful videos online, especially at the Reading League website. They have lots of fun videos. You're going to find them easily on YouTube. Now let's bring down the consonants if we can figure out what the word is. And of course, there are all sorts of rules that you can talk about. But one of the things that in science of reading that they're emphasizing is like lose the rules. Lose the rules. Just start working with words and studying them and taking them apart. So the practice of mapping the sequence of letters and sounds in a very conscious way will facilitate the brain's ability to learn how to create sight words at the subconscious level. And that sounds to me like spelling. So I go back to spelling because I just think it's a fantastic way to teach children high frequency words and actually to teach them how to read. I think there are some things in the chat box that I'm supposed to pay attention to. Let's see.
We had some comments about something that, so are they supposed to make the changes within 2 seconds when they're substituting? And
I don't know.
yes.
I think you're going to find videos online that'll show people doing this substitution and deletion and reversals.
It
I
is
wish-
about fluency. Mhm. Yeah.
Are you saying it needs to happen more? Yeah, obviously, the better the children get at it, the quicker it will be. But the one book that I showed
Mhm.
has a whole section. In fact, most of the book is just drills. Donna, what's the name of that company that everyone talks about when they're doing phonemic awareness?
Oh, Hegarty.
Yeah, Hegarty. Okay, so a lot of classrooms using Hegarty, which give teachers sort of day by day scripts, I think, to play these games.
Right. Okay, then there's another comment for deletions and substitutions. Kilpatrick says that you should not tell the student where the sound is. He says it's really important that they locate the sound. So for example, you tell the student say blank, but don't say blank, rather than say blank, but don't delete the last sound.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, his book is amazing. I'm not an expert, but I feel like I just want to make sure. I'm just wondering if some of you out there actually have not known about orthographic mapping or don't understand the more advanced phonemic awareness tasks. I've never had to grapple with them because I work with younger children, but it's so important, as I'm sure you know, Donna, as well.
Well, and just to let you know, there is controversy about that, whether it needs to happen at beyond 2nd grade. So, that's what the researchers do, and that's what they try to figure out. And it's not everybody's in agreement that we have to do advanced phonemic awareness beyond 2nd grade, which is
that's probably true. But that beyond 2nd grade and 3rd grade, beyond 5th and 6th grade, there are children who need it. So that's the answer. There are some children who absolutely need it, just like there are some 2nd graders that haven't learned their alphabet sounds yet. So, normally that's all supposed to be taught in kindergarten, but if they don't know it, they don't know it. So you've got to be where the children are and what they need. And that's why it's hard teaching in a classroom. We've got such a big gap of children who are really advanced and children who are really struggling.
So in my one experience with my adult dyslexic, the thing that he responded to the most is the phoneme segmentation and the blending, because that is the thing that he can't do. He can't hear the sounds. Right. So like you said, and that's exactly what he needs. And we do it all the time. And we focus a lot on spelling because you have to hear the sound.
That's right. And the act of actually, I always say to my 1st graders, I would say, I want to hear you right. I want to hear you right. So if they're writing the word street, I'm hearing, 12 or 15 or 20 kids go, and they're all sounding out while they're writing it. So they're mapping sounds and symbols. It's so important. Donna, do you know if there are any questions that I can't read in the chat or that you're aware of? People can also turn on their video if they want to raise their hand. And
yep,
and
you could. I don't know. I don't know if we could raise hands. Who knows? Equipped for reading. People wanted to know the name of the book.
Yes, Equipped for Reading Success. I do want to also say, I'll put my email back in the chat box. If you'd like me to zoom into your school for a free professional development that's what I love to do. So just email me, just set up a time, we can talk about it. We can find a time or a date that works for faculty. And I'm happy to make the time to do that. I love it. And, if you've enjoyed what I've been doing over the last 4 weeks, then you know that there are probably some other faculty members you work with that could use a little brushing up on some of these concepts. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you have a question also.
I just wanted to share that I've been really enjoying your materials and I've been using them and started sharing them with a lot of my colleagues, and they've been positive about them too.
And who are you?
I'm Julie.
Good, thank you. Where do you teach?
I teach in California.
And what grades do you teach?
I'm a reading intervention teacher in the elementary school.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Hi, Julie. Now I see you.
Yeah, I think Julie, do you get the perfect attendance award? I know you
I
do.
have been curious.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I will be downloading the chat onto a Word document so I can look at any comments that people are made. You're welcome to put into the chat an email address if you'd like me to contact you about setting up a time to come to your school. Not come to, well, I'm happy to go to your school too, because I love doing that. Whenever I go to a school, I give presentations to the faculty, but I always work with small groups of children, 3 at a time. They just keep them coming. I just have fun playing games. It allows the teachers to sort of see what I do and how you can play a game 5 or 6 different ways. One of the teachers this week asked me about onset rhyme and why I don't do other different kinds of phonemic awareness things with the younger children. I said, well, look, segmentation uber alles, right? Segmentation is the driving engine to decoding at these beginning levels. Mm-hmm. I can play 5 or 6 or 10 different kinds of games with just blending and segmentation. I don't need to bring in onset rhyme or deletion stuff, which is fun and it's challenging, but I can challenge children with phoneme segmentation as well. And so that they become so good at it that it just smooths the way to their decoding. I also have a free.
I just had another question. I was thinking when you were showing the word slips for the multisyllabic words, I was curious, it looked like you had maybe wipe off markers. I was just curious, or do you use letter, refrigerator magnet letters, or like what format do you tend to do that in?
Oops, you mean those?
Yeah, so they're laminated and you use the wipe off markers. Is that how the kids do it?
Oh, hold on. Well, yeah, these are laminated and I do have the wipe off markers, but I also have another box with these slips that are just printed. I just copied them. So
and
the
just
child,
write it on pieces of
yeah.
paper
So if I were in an elementary classroom, I might say to a particular student or a particular group of students, okay, Thomas, I want you to go grab, 5 of those slips out of the box and do the work, which we've done together on the chalkboard, perhaps with a group. Do the work, take 4 or 5 or 6 of them, and then when you're ready, when you've studied them, bring them to me and read them to me. So again, these aren't hard. This particular closed syllable stuff is not hard, but when you get into more advanced multi-syllable words with phonograms and different kinds of orthographic features, it gives a child a chance to sort of study it. So when he turns the card over, there's nothing there to help him, and he brings it back to me and he reads it to me. It's just good practice.
I was just curious in the structure in terms of whether they were building the words with letters or actually writing.
No,
just in terms of, yeah.
They're actually, at this point, they're actually,
and for reuse, you can do it with the wipe off.
Yeah.
Got it.
Is that Julie?
Yeah, it's me again.
Yeah, go to my website I have a little tab that says instructional videos. And one of the videos I did was on multi-syllable word study. And in that page where the video is, are downloads for all of the.
Yeah, I downloaded them. I was just curious in terms of like whether to laminate or just like thoughts on how to work with it. So that's good.
Thanks. Okay.
I think that's a wrap. What do you think?
I'm happy to spend another few minutes if people want to stay on and ask me any questions. I do hope this was helpful to you. Donna, I'm happy to do anything for your Facebook group anytime you want. Of course,
Okay,
after your vacation, I want you to have a fun vacation.
I know.
I want to say hi to Annabelle, my friend in Kansas City. Thank you for coming, Annabelle. Willistine has a little niece that she's working with.
Randall, I missed a few minutes in the beginning, so can I have a replay?
I think Donna will be putting that replay up on her YouTube.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
I can't wait to see you and give you a hug again. It's been so long, Annabelle. Okay, well, I'm going to copy the chat, which I do with a Control A, and I copy it and I put it into a Word document, and I can check and see what people are saying. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Randall.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Oh, she left. Okay. All right, we are good. Thanks, Randall. Thank you for everything. That was really.
Oh, no, I've been so grateful, and I just love the people that come to these, and they just want to help the children. That's what we all want to do.
I know, we're just, it's just so amazing, all the stuff that's been happening. It's
I
really
know.
exciting.
I know.
Totally exciting. All right, I'm gonna stop this and, oh, I gotta stop my recording. Hang on.